Hi, everyone. Let me get started here. Hold on 1 second. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Lori, and I am a registered dietitian here at Northwest Specialty Hospital. And I am here to do a presentation on self-care, specifically self-care during the holiday season. I want to kind of give everybody a disclosure here that I'm kind of getting over a little bit of a cold, so I may just have a little bit of some coughing, minor coughing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with a nice just introduction. Like I said, I'm a registered dietitian here at Northwest. I've been here for about 6 years now. I am a certified specialist in obesity and weight management. You might be wondering why a dietitian is doing a presentation on self-care. And that is because I am graduating this December with a Master's of Science in Integrative Health and Wellness, with a focus on lifestyle medicine and health coaching with Creighton University. And so when we're talking about self-care, self-care is definitely under the umbrella of lifestyle medicine, whole person health, wellness, all those good things. And the program that I'm graduating from is going to set me up so that I can take the exam to become a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. So I'm very excited to go down that path. So this presentation is part of our challenge called Maintain, Don't Gain. And this challenge is started on November 1st, will be concluding on January 5th. It's available to all employees. And basically what this challenge is just encourages employees to complete a list of wellness related activities. If you complete the activities and submit that documentation, you'll be entered into a drawing to win a lot of wonderful prizes like an iPad Air, Garmin watch, Beats Studio earbuds. We have 2 Bluetooth speakers to give out and 10 Stanley water bottles to give out. I want to make it very clear that there's nothing tied to weight during this challenge. Our 2 weigh-ins are simply just to encourage accountability for employees. Nobody gets penalized if you gain weight during this challenge. You are incentivized, though, that if you do not gain more than 5 pounds during the challenge, your name will be entered twice into the drawing. But some different activities that we have on our list here include giving back to the community. And so doing a local 5K, volunteering, maintaining accountability with the 2 weigh-ins at the beginning and at the end, trying an in-person group fitness class, completing 2 webinars. This is one of 2 webinars to complete. Practicing some mindfulness, and then completing the 4th quarter wellness challenge as well. So very doable list, but also encourages people just to, maybe branch out just a little bit this holiday season. So let's get into self-care. So what is self-care? Well, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, self-care means taking the time to do things that help you live well and improve your physical and mental health. When I think of self-care, I think of the word protection. And so self-care protects your mental and physical well-being so your body can fight inflammation, support your immune system, and not be too busy in this constant fight or flight mode, because we're not giving our body what it needs to maintain health and well-being. And so think about protection when you think about self-care. Who needs self-care? Well, you may need self-care if you have kids, if you're a daughter or a son, if you have friends, if you have a birthday, if you love socializing, if you hate socializing. The main point of this slide is that everyone can benefit from self-care, and self-care can look very different for everyone. So I really want you to think about yourself as a pitcher of water. Throughout the day, throughout the week, you're pouring a little bit of water out of your pitcher by giving your time, your energy, your resources to other people and other things. So you may pour out water throughout your day or throughout your week by taking care and supporting your family and friends. Your parenting responsibilities can definitely take a lot of the water out of your pitcher. Working and putting patients first can also take water out of your pitcher. You know, we have that great mentality of patients first, but it can definitely wear on you after a while if you're not taking care of yourself. Completing household responsibilities and chores can also take water out of your pitcher, or for some people, maybe it adds water to your pitcher. Maybe if you're, one of those people that love cleaning the house, maybe that adds to your pitcher. I don't know. Taking care of pets and just household responsibilities. Devoting energy and resources to school and education or maintaining credentials can also take water out of your pitcher. And so as we're going over all of these reasons or all of these things that can take water out of your pitcher, you have to think about self-care as replenishing the water in your pitcher so that you have more to give to other people. There's a lot of myths out there about self-care. Maybe some individuals think that self-care is selfish, which is absolutely not true. Like what we just discussed. Self-care is a way to replenish yourself so that you have more to give to others. And so taking care of yourself doesn't mean me first. It really means me too. That's said by L.R. Knost. She is an author and a child development researcher, and she's a big advocate for parents promoting and prioritizing self-care. People think that self-care can be too time-consuming. I don't think so. I'm going to give you some ideas today of things, easy things that you can practice that are going to be supportive of your overall well-being. Maybe some people think it's a luxury that they can't afford. Self-care does not mean going and having a spa day, which can be really expensive, right? Maybe sometimes that's what it includes. That's what you really need if you can afford that, if you plan that out into your day. But it absolutely doesn't have to be. And actually, a majority of your self-care practices are not going to be, things like that. Self-care is only for women. Again, very false. Guys, you also need to prioritize self-care. And self-care is the same for everyone. Like I already mentioned, self-care is very different for every single person. So what works for you for self-care is not going to be the same thing that works for somebody else. Throughout the presentation, we have little quiz questions. The quiz questions are what you have to submit at the end in order to receive credit for this webinar. And so our quiz question number 1, true or false? Self-care is selfish, time-consuming, and expensive. Obviously, we just learned that this question is false. Self-care is not selfish, it does not have to be time-consuming, and it does not have to be expensive. So why should you practice self-care? Well, it can help you manage stress, lowers your risk for illness and chronic disease. And I really want you to think about that. We always hear about that. Okay, yeah, prevents chronic disease. Great. But what does that mean? Well, it means that maybe by practicing self-care now, it's limiting your need to be dependent on maybe blood pressure medications later on in life, maybe anti-anxiety medications later in life. Maybe you won't be as dependent on having to go to a lot of different doctor's appointments to, go to all these specialists because you're having digestive problems because you can't, manage your anxiety or stress. So it lowers your risk for illness and chronic disease in that way. Increases your energy levels. I know that we are all always looking for ways to improve our energy levels, especially as we get into this time of year when it gets dark at like 4 p.m. and you just feel like you're ready for bed at 5 p.m. So self-care can really boost your energy levels. Can also improve your ability to care for others. So I'm talking to all you parents out there specifically. Like I said, it replenishes yourself so you have more to give to others. And to talk a little bit more about self-care and parenting, we know that 25% of parents do not regularly practice self-care. We also know that fathers are more likely to practice self-care than mothers are. When parents manage stress, sleep well, stay active, and eat healthy, it can really impact their children's behavior positively. So there's a great reason right there to practice self-care, that if you practice self-care, you're going to see some positive child behaviors as a response. Poor physical and mental health among parents has also been associated with lower self-compassion. We're going to talk about self-compassion a little bit more at the end. And parents who practice self-care report feeling more confident in their parenting role than parents who do not practice self-care. Self-care around the holidays, the most wonderful time of year, question mark? I think that it can be the most wonderful time of the year, but we also need to be understanding that it can also be the most stressful time of year. We know that 62% of people feel more stressed around the holidays. That's more than half, of individuals feel more stressed around the holidays. Stressors around the holidays can be financial stressors, which, I feel like is a big one for a lot of people. I really liked this quote, negotiating the interpersonal dynamics of the family. I thought that that was a very diplomatic way of just saying that it's hard to deal with family sometimes, whether that be the in-laws or your personal family coming to visit, you having to prioritize visiting family. It can all be really stressful. And so let's be honest and open about that. And then maintaining personal health habits can also be a stressor around the holidays. If you think about how we celebrate the holidays with food and alcohol, and it really can put a lot of stressors on us when we are surrounded by everything that we are told to limit, or everything that we're told to not do, is what we kind of center our holidays around. So it can be a stressor to think about your health behaviors and maintaining those around the holidays. Let's also be real. The holidays can also be a sad time for people. Not everyone feels jolly and happy during the holiday season. I really encourage you to practice self-compassion and ditch the feelings of guilt, because it's okay to not match your family, friends, or coworkers' enthusiasm with the holidays. I also want to be open that self-care is hard to prioritize around the holidays. I want to acknowledge that. And so one thing that I hope that you get from this presentation is ideas of how you can incorporate even the smallest forms of self-care into your daily and weekly life around the holidays. And then I had to include a quote here from my favorite Christmas movie, Christmas Vacation, from Ellen Griswold. I don't know what to say, but it's Christmas and we're all in misery. So before we dive into self-care strategies, I want you all to take the time to really understand that we are all multifaceted beings with many different needs to support our health and wellness. And the first step in our wellness program is to take a wellness wheel self-assessment. Basically, this self-assessment is going to help you evaluate where you believe you're at within these areas of wellness. So we know that we have our social wellness or well-being, occupational well-being, environmental well-being, intellectual well-being, spiritual well-being, emotional well-being, physical well-being, and financial well-being. So you'll have the opportunity to rate where you're at in each of those areas of wellness. So many times we focus on eating healthy and exercising as kind of our self-care and strategies to have a healthy life. But it's really important that physical activity and nutrition are just pieces of the puzzle. There are so many other areas that we can kind of be channeling energy into to support our well-being. There's actually been some research done lately that argues that without occupational well-being, individuals are going to lack wellness and well-being overall. And the thought behind this is because if you think about your waking hours during the day, maybe you spend half of your time at home and then half of your time, half of your waking hours at your job, at your place of employment. And if your place of employment is stressful, that doesn't include a supportive environment where you can manage stress, if your, relationships with your coworkers are strained, it can just contribute a lot of stress, anxiety, negative emotions, and it can really be detrimental to your overall well-being. So some researchers argue that without occupational well-being, there is no well-being overall. So it's an interesting concept. It's an interesting idea. Quiz question number 2. True or false? Nutrition and physical activity are the only 2 areas of self-care to practice. And we just talked about that. That is very false. We know that nutrition and physical activity are just pieces of the puzzle. So we're going to start talking about some self-care strategies. I'm going to start with movement and nutrition, even though we know that those are just pieces of the puzzle. We'll get into other strategies as well. And so regular physical activity and movement can help improve your mood. It can improve your brain function, prevent chronic disease, increase your energy levels, improve your sleep, and promotes healthy aging. And so, notice how I didn't even mention anything about like weight loss, weight management, because movement and physical activity is so much more than that. It's so much more than just a weight loss strategy. We know that there's a dose-response relationship between physical activity and health, which means that the more active you are, the more health benefits you're going to see. I like to mention that because these physical activity and movement goals or self-care strategies doesn't have to be these grand goals, or maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to start going to yoga 5 days every week when you're not even doing yoga right now. Just focus on small goals, because again, there's a dose-response relationship. So if you are only getting 5,000 steps a day, do not sell yourself short with creating a goal to just increase it to 6,000 or 7,000 steps per day. There's a great benefit there. So do not discount that as a success. A lot of people think that in order to have success with physical activity, you have to do these grand things, and that's absolutely not the case. So some ideas for movement as self-care. You can go for regular bike rides or walks. You can include the family or go solo. Your living room is a great space to do some workouts or practice some movement. You can do squats, jumping jacks, sit-ups, push-ups, planks, yoga poses. You can even get the kids involved, your family involved. Stretching to feel the difference. Stretching is a big part of movement, especially as we're aging. And so maybe you do 10 minutes of stretching before bed. Maybe you take stretching breaks at work, stretch while watching TV at night. You can also utilize apps. There's so many inexpensive apps out there that can just range from $10 to $15 per month. And they have a variety of exercises that can include a 5-minute exercise to a 60-minute exercise. So, if you have 10 minutes before you go to run and go get the kids, put on a 5-minute exercise real quick, where you're just getting some movement. Again, just those little goals, those little contributors to your overall activity levels can make a big difference. But if that's not in the budget, you can also utilize free resources. YouTube is a great resource nowadays. There's so many different activities out there and exercises out there. Something that we started doing, I share an office with the 2 other dietitians, Lindy and Jennifer, and the 3 of us started doing 10-minute exercises during our lunch break, where we take a second, we put on a YouTube video that's a 10-minute body weight exercise. And it's been great. We've been really appreciating the extra movement, kind of energizes us for the second half of the day. So anyways, just some ideas. And then remember, movement should feel enjoyable. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to continue doing it for very long. And so find some sort of activity that you enjoy, that's easy for you to do, that's realistic for you to maintain. I do also want to mention that we had a wonderful article written by Lynette, one of our physical therapists, in our wellness newsletter this past time. It's all about increasing movement in the workplace. And she has some great strategies in there of just how to increase your movement during the day. So now we're going to talk about healthy eating and nutrition as self-care. Now, healthy eating and nutrition can be a great way to support our physical health, but the benefits can also extend to supporting our social, mental, and emotional health. Now, what I really wanted to do here is, self-care, nutrition and healthy eating as self-care is not dieting, restricting food groups, making a calorie deficit. That's not what we're talking about when we're talking about self-care. What I'm talking about is just easy strategies that you can practice that supports your physical well-being. So for example, you can just focus on making half of your plate vegetables and fruits because we know that those foods are nutrient dense, high in fiber. You can make cooking and meal planning a family activity. And so taking away that stress or that pressure of having to cook and meal plan for the entire family, get your family involved. Use meal times for social connectedness, even if it's an unhealthy meal. Even if you're having a burger and fries, or you're at the Thanksgiving table with all the yummy foods around. Really take the time to enjoy that meal with family and friends, because you're using it to nurture those social connections, which can absolutely be self-care. So it doesn't even matter what you're eating. You can utilize those meal times for social connectedness and nurturing relationships. Try not to use food to cope with emotions. That's a big one. Really trying to utilize other coping mechanisms, which are going to be way more effective to cope with emotions than food is. I always tell individuals that food is meant to be comforting. I personally think that using food to cope with emotions isn't necessarily a bad thing or an unhealthy thing. Because again, food is meant to be comforting. It's when that becomes your main coping mechanism, and that's what you're using a majority of the time to cope with emotions. That's when we get concerned. And so try to branch out and utilize other coping mechanisms as much as possible. And ditching distractions. So trying to limit screen time and other distractions while eating. That's really difficult nowadays when we have our cell phones, our smartphones that are attached to our hand at all times. If you can really ditch the distractions and being fully present in your meal, it's going to help support an environment to practice mindful eating, which is our last bullet point here. And practicing that mindful eating is going to help you avoid getting too hungry and too full. So that brings me to the hunger scale. If you haven't heard me talk about the hunger scale, I think I've talked about it in a different presentation, but I'm a big fan of the hunger scale. So the hunger scale basically just gives you a number of, what hunger and fullness feels like. And this is a really important concept because the research shows that humans are losing their ability to read their internal hunger and fullness cues at the age of 3. It used to be age 5, now it's age 3. And so being able to identify when you're hungry and when you're not hungry, or even when you're full, is a very it's a very simple thing to do, but it's a very important thing to do. So what this hunger scale does is on one side you have a 1, which is like you are feeling so hungry that you're going to eat the next thing you see because you're feeling so deprived, so ravenous, you are literally on empty. And then on the other side, you have a 10, which is you are so stuffed. Maybe you feel physically ill because you're feeling so full. You want to avoid both sides of these because what happens when you're at a 1? Well, are you going to have a nice salad that's full of veggies, or are you going to have like a burger and French fries if you're at a 1? If I'm at a 1, I'm going for the burger and French fries because I'm so dang hungry. And so really being able to avoid a 1 and a 2 is really what I recommend. Maybe even a 3, but I also think it's okay to feel a little bit of hunger. And then on the other side, you want to really avoid a 9 and 10. There's no need for you to feel so overly full because what happens when you do that, you just want to sit and you don't want to move, and you're not supportive of movement, and you overate, which means you overconsumed food. So it's just not a good habit to get into. So sticking between a 3, 7 or 8, just kind of depending on the situation, is a good idea. And so what I want you to think about right now is take a second and just think about where you're at on the hunger scale right now. I personally would say I'm at like a 2 or 3. About lunchtime and I'm really hungry. And so, just take, each one of these numbers feels differently for you. And so start figuring out what each of these numbers feels like. All right, we're going to move on to relationships as self-care strategies. So feeling connected to others has many influences over our health and well-being. We have to understand that people are naturally social creatures. When people have stable and supportive relationships with family and friends, they're going to be more likely to have healthier lifestyles, like better mental and physical health. Now, some research that I've been hearing in the news a lot lately, I'm sure you all have heard as well, is that they've recently come out with some research that shows that loneliness has the same detrimental health effects as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Which honestly isn't surprising when we're thinking about relationships and social connectedness, and a lot of the research that's out there that shows how important that is, for overall health. So some strategies to strengthen and improve connectedness to others includes practicing empathy. So just like we have empathy for patients, practice empathy with your relationships in your life. So acknowledging, understanding, and sharing the feelings or experiences of others. So practicing putting yourself in their shoes. That's really something that I try to do as a dietitian, is really putting myself in the other person's shoes and trying to understand, what's leading to their lifestyle or what's leading to this or that. And really trying to understand that from their perspective. Making new connections, join a group focused on a favorite hobby, take a class, try something new, volunteer, all really great opportunities to make new connections. I've been really enjoying the new connections that I've been making with just doing a lot of this employee wellness stuff. It's been really fun for me. Nurturing existing connections, so phoning a friend, planning recurring get-togethers, listening to others without judgment or blame, and basically just treating others how you would like to be treated. And then shifting the focus, taking the focus from me to you by putting your smart devices away to limit distractions and fully being present when you're having that interaction with somebody. My apologies, I know that there's a spelling error there. I'm really terrible at proofreading, which you may have realized by now. Quiz question number 3. Of the strategies to support relationships as self-care, what strategy do you want to work on to nurture the relationships in your life? So the strategies include, just to remind you, are practicing empathy, making new connections, nurture existing connections, and shifting the focus. So of those 4 strategies, which one do you want to practice more in your relationships in your life? Practice empathy, make new connections, nurture existing connections, shifting the focus. Speaking of being nurtured, we're going to talk about being nurtured by nature. So exposure to nature, whether it be strolling through the park or spend time in like the actual wilderness, has been linked with improved attention, lower stress, better mood, improved empathy for others. There's also benefits like increasing happiness, positive social interactions, and encourages a sense of meaning and purpose in life. So really great benefits from spending time in nature. The benefits can even be extended to even sounds of nature and images of nature. That's something that we've been trying to do in our office, is having a little bit more like nature sounds in our office, which has been lovely, I must say. And some strategies for nurturing yourself with nature. I tried to keep in mind that we're really going into the winter months here. And so what are some ways to nurture yourself with nature during the cold, dark winter months? Obviously, you can go for regular walks or bike rides. You can take a hike. We are so fortunate that we live in such a wonderful area where we have hiking trails literally all over the place. You could try a new outdoor hobby like skiing, ice fishing, snowshoeing, sledding. You can build a snowman or a snow fort. Portaling cruises are a great way to get outside, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the wilderness while being in like a warm boat. You can plant an indoor herb garden this winter. You can shovel your driveway for some physical activity and some time spent outside. You can visit a zoo or aquarium, or you can maybe just some ice skating. They have that wonderful ice skating rink that's downtown Coeur d'Alene. That's really cute and fun to go visit. Relaxation and stress management. What big parts of, it's a big area of self-care. So practicing self-care in general can help you relax more and improve stress management skills. Chronic exposure to stress can increase your risk for anxiety, depression, digestive problems, heart disease, sleeping problems, weight gain, all the things if you just are chronically exposed to stress and you don't have those coping mechanisms in place. So there's a lot of ways that you can cope with stress, and everyone finds success in different strategies. So you can try journaling, deep breathing, yoga, meditation, phoning a friend, exercising, practicing your favorite hobby. I really encourage you to not wait until you're stressed out either. Schedule it into your week so that you have dedicated time to practice these coping mechanisms. That can be an especially helpful strategy to focus on during the holiday season when it's really busy. Just taking each week and thinking, okay, when am I going to practice this? These coping mechanisms. We also have, as part of our challenge, these mindfulness practices that are done by Casey Richardson. Highly recommend them. They're really quick, only about 5 minutes, and hopefully that can also help you with relaxation and stress management. So quiz question number 4 is, name 2 stress management strategies you plan on practicing this holiday season. So what are 2 ways that you're going to manage stress this holiday season? Let's see, I'll do a little bit of some self-sharing here. I'm a big journaler. I really like to journal. And I really like to also go for walks, go for long walks on the weekends, which are very therapeutic for me. All right, self-compassion. So I really want you to take a moment to think about how you treat yourself when you make a mistake or you don't reach a goal. Strong self-compassion is linked to lower levels of anxiety and depression, improved relationships, and it really sets the foundation for overall better health. So if you're one of those people that just beat yourself up when you make a mistake or you don't reach a specific goal, maybe you could use a little bit more self-compassion. So how can you develop better self-compassion? I always tell people, I always like to share, I have a really good girlfriend who, whenever any of us is in a negative mind space or mindset, and we're talking negatively about ourselves, she'll immediately interrupt us and she'll say, "Don't talk about my friend like that." And so really, being able to practice how you would treat your friends, treat yourself that way. Give yourself that same compassion that you would give to your friends and family. So I grabbed some ideas. This is from an article from Harvard Health of how to develop better self-compassion. So they say first of all, you can think about comforting your body. So eating something healthy, lying down and resting, maybe even massaging your own neck, feet, or hands. Take a walk. Anything that you can do to improve how you feel physically will give you a dose of self-compassion. Maybe you write a letter to yourself. Think of a situation that caused you to feel pain, like maybe a breakup, a job loss, or a poorly received presentation at work. Oh, I hate that. But write a letter to yourself describing the situation, but without blaming anyone, including yourself. And so use this exercise to nurture your feelings. Give yourself encouragement. Think of what you would say to a good friend if he or she was facing a difficult or stressful situation. So again, treating yourself as you would treat a friend. Then when you find yourself in this kind of situation, direct these compassionate responses towards yourself. And lastly, practice mindfulness. So even a quick exercise such as meditating for a few minutes can be a great way to nurture and accept ourselves while we are in pain. I also want to talk about positivity. So having a positive attitude and outlook can support your health by lowering your blood pressure, decrease your risk for heart disease, improve weight control, healthier blood sugar levels, and decrease depression and anxiety. There's actually been a lot of recent research about this, about how Positive attitudes and positivity overall can be very supportive of somebody's health and wellness, and specifically decreasing risk for developing heart disease. It's very interesting. And so how can you improve, your own positivity in your life? I always like to mention and encourage the what went well activity. And so, if you're starting to journal as a way to cope with stress, list 3 things every day that went of what went well. And so what are 3 things that went well? Because I guarantee you there are 3 things every day that went well for you. You just have to identify them and look for them. And if you want to take it a step further, maybe you say what went well and why it went well. So maybe you had a really good presentation at work. And why did that go well? Well, because I took the time to prepare for it and develop a good presentation and a good PowerPoint. And I did my research. What a great way to give yourself some good encouragement and, good pat on the back. I love it. But the what went well activity can really promote a lot of positivity in your life. So I really want to encourage all of you to practice self-care this holiday season. So my last quiz question here is, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, how would you rate your ability to give yourself compassion? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your ability to give yourself compassion? You don't have to write anything else other than just a number. And so those are 5 quiz questions, and just submit those to Lindy's email, which is on the Maintain Don't Gain worksheet there. And so you can look at her email there and send that over when you have all your documentation put together. So thanks so much for taking the time to listen to me for about 40 minutes here. If you have any questions, or if you just want to have further discussion, you're more than welcome to email me at any point. All right, with that said, thanks so much, everybody, and have a good day.